Boston Manor have released new album, Sundiver.
That's a really weird way to pronounce one of the best albums of this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I
Wow.
love this. Yeah. I saw you added it, so I thought that you might be high on it too. Are you telling me that that's not the case?
I like this album. I don't think it's as good as the previous album, and I don't think it's good as good as Welcome to the Neighborhood. Actually, you know what? I could be smoking so much shit right now. This album is better than Welcome to the Neighborhood.
You're so real for that. You are so fucking real for that.
But Datura is better than this album.
Now you've lost me. I feel like this clears both of them, at least for me.
Really?
But yeah.
I like, so there's aspects that I want to touch on here, like Datura Dawn it sounds a lot like Datura Dusk, the first track of the last album, but in a more bright atmosphere. And I Boston Manor's been really good at this with either the past 4 albums, I'd say. Like Welcome to the Neighborhood is very dark, and that you can even see that in the album cover. And then Glue, I'm gonna call it the counterpart, but I don't really think it's a counterpart, white album cover, and it's more similar to this. I don't think it was executed as well as this. And then they did the same thing with Datura and Sundiver. I think Container is a funny song just because the lyrics don't really make sense to me.
The lyrics are a little goofy.
But it's really catchy.
Yes. Container, probably top 3 song on the album for me.
And I literally imagine him like in his kitchen, and he's like packing his lunch, and he's like, I just woke up like this container.
I'm never gonna not have that mental image now. Dang it.
And then he looks over at his backyard and he sees his sliding door while he's heating up his tea. No, okay, I'm bullshitting now.
And then he takes a nap on the back deck, eyes closed.
Exactly.
About horses.
Exactly. Yeah. So, Deftones influences a lot in this album.
Oh, absolutely.
And I've never been the biggest. I've never done like a Deftones dive, honestly, but I think I should at one point because I like a lot of bands that are influenced by Deftones, and I haven't given them the time of day. I think if I listened to them when they released their albums, I would enjoy it more. If that makes sense. Like it had to be in that era when it was released. Anyway, I've glanced at Deftones, but a lot of the bands I like are influenced by them. I want to like Sleep Token, this, even the song on the Bring Me album, Limousine, very Deftones-esque. I've heard. I don't. But yeah, this album is fantastic. Honestly, I love how everything meshes together. I love how it contrasts with the previous album, and I think it was executed very well. I want to hear what you have to say, though.
The Deftones influence is something that I think is definitely almost a selling point of this album. Like that's the thing that I appreciate the most about this, is the fact that there are a bunch of different, I don't even know if I want to call them influences, but similar bands that you can hear on this album. There's Deftones, there's Nothing But Thieves, there's Cage the Elephant, lots of different kind of alternative, grungy. I can't remember what song it is on here, but one thing, there's a verse or a chorus on here that reminds me a lot of Nirvana. And that something that I don't love about grunge or the grungy style is how negative it can sound sometimes. And I think that this album is bright enough in a lot of ways that it takes the best aspects of those bands and their influences and brings them forth in a way that is so distinctly Boston Manor. I hear all these different bands coming into their music, but at the end of the day, this is still very clearly a Boston Manor album because nobody does it like Boston Manor. Nobody sounds like Boston Manor. Like, you can replicate it, but at the end of the day, they've kind of established this kind of corner for themselves in the scene and really honed in their sound.
I can't believe you like this album that much. I'm happy. I'm happy.
I am
gotta
too.
Go back and listen to the previous one though.
I think so. I really didn't enjoy this alternative style of, I guess you can call it alt rock in a sense, until I was introduced by a couple of songs by my girlfriend. And then also the sheer amount of times I listened to that Nothing But Thieves album last year. And what previously had not clicked for me is clicking for me now. So I think that this album is coming across at the very right time. Like, I'm peaking on my enjoyment of this type of music. And this album said, oh, hey, sure, we'll add some fuel to the fire. But it's less of like fuel and more like they just took like a couple gallons of gasoline and went, and then now it's like, all right, yep, I'm sold. Hook me in, light the fire, all good. Container's a kind of a strange song that I have yet to figure out, but I feel like this style of music really lends itself into that kind of lyricism sometimes. Put a funky couple of metaphors in there here and there, and you're good to go. But I also really appreciate how this album loops into itself in terms of the closer leading back into the opener. In that same vein, I think that my one complaint about this album is the way that Morning Star doesn't quite transition into Why I Sleep. It really rubs me just slightly the wrong way, because I feel like when you have a drum and bass interlude or any interlude like that either when you come out on the other side of it, there needs to be a big thematic switch, or it needs to lead into that next track. And there's just the slightest gap in playback that I'm like, all right, you're taking me out of it a little bit, you know? But maybe that's something that with more time with the album, I will either get used to or enjoy more. I think of Secrets off To Better Days, you know, how that switch up at the start, we were all like, what the fuck? Like, this doesn't sound good at all. And then now it's like, oh, yeah. Well, at least, did we all come to terms on that? I know I'm like changing subjects, but did we all end up enjoying
Secrets
that?
is a good song. Secrets is a good song.
Okay. That's the one that ends abruptly?
Yeah, like cuts off the final chorus really abruptly and goes in this really chill.
I still don't like it, but I accept it.
Thinking it's going to be one of those types of scenarios for me. We'll see. But yeah, I didn't expect to like this as much, just because of my history with Boston Manor albums. Like, they were good, but I didn't think that it would be like great. But once I heard Horses in a Dream, I'm like, okay, we could be going somewhere. And the fact that really Horses in the Dream is the most distinctly sounding, like there aren't any other songs really on here I feel like that distinctly sound like it, but it still manages to fit in, be a strong song, and maybe not even the strongest song on the album. I really like Fornix. I don't know about you.
Bro, I dig. Every time I hear that song, I have to Google what a Fornix is.
I still don't know. Do you know? do we got a definition on deck?
It's something in your brain. I can tell you that. Yeah, it's a C-shaped bundle of white matter that is found in the mesial aspect of the cerebral hemispheres.
Can you explain?
It's part of your brain.
Yeah, dude, what the fuck?
Part of your brain. Part of your brain.
Do you know what it does? Like, does it have a function?
Probably doesn't work for me.
I'm reading. There's a lot here. It's still not entirely clear.
Hey,
Mood.
fuck it, we ball.
That's funny.
Overall, I really like this.
Cutting the fornix can cause memory loss.
Ah, okay. Shit, I should probably go get that looked at. I think maybe my fornix is damaged. Head banged too hard and it's over for me. Jake, did you end up listening to this? Because I feel like you've had some comments here and there. I have a feeling you did, and you did, and you didn't like it as much as either of us. Is that the vibe that I'm getting?
It's better than Datura. I liked it more than Datura.
Based.
But overall, Boston Manor are not really a band that I'm ever that excited about. They're a band that I listen to, and I'm never really having a bad time, but I'm also not having a great time either. But like Boston Manor comes on, and if it's a Boston Manor song that I enjoy, I'm chill with it. You know, like, I really enjoyed Container and Sliding Doors. Heat Me Up has a pretty memorable chorus. Why I Sleep is pretty good, but other than that, it's just Boston Manor. Their sound is not something that gets stuck in my head and something that hits my dopamine receptors in the way that many other bands do.
What was that Make Them Suffer song recently? Was it Oscillator that hit the... Yep.
Yep, that was in fact a reference.
I was about to say...
Did you?
Got him.
I already touched on this a little bit, but I think the Datura Dawn being very similar to Datura Dusk really, like, if you're familiar with the band, it really or if you're familiar with the last album at least, it really helps you get into the like the headspace of where this album is going. I think it's like perfect in how it sets the tone of the album. It's like, oh, you know this, but you also don't know this, and it's lighter.
I think you're right. I think I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
You have to. It's so good. That I think that album is like, it's shorter, but it's also I think it also loops back into it itself as really well. And there's a lot of ambience in that album, which I think is one of the selling points for me, honestly.
And that's why I didn't like the Datura very much. I found it quite boring with all of the slow parts.
Man. They're all near the end though.
Yeah. Still boring.
I think that was my number 4 when it came out, 2022, right? Maybe I can't remember. Something like that. It was in my top 5, I can tell you that for sure. Good album. And this is a good album. And I can't believe I said that is freaking better than Welcome to the Neighborhood, but it's true. Both these albums, these past 2 albums, are better than Welcome to the Neighborhood.
Times are changing. The future is now, old man.
Yeah.
My favorite Boston Manor song is still Carbon Mono off of that EP they did.
I haven't returned to that EP. I don't know if I...
That's my favorite thing Boston Manor has done.
Damn. The one thing I don't like. Actually, I don't like Glue.
I need to revisit Welcome to the Neighborhood. Because that was better than I wrote. That was like better than I thought it would be. Even though, like, I know you guys hyped it up a lot, but after how whelmed I was by Glue, I really had low expectations, but it was actually pretty... Anyway.